the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, and yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker. It's a Full Court Press on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. Also streaming on 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile app. And if you missed anything that we talked about last hour or any previous show that we've done, you can always find our podcasts of our shows on our website, on our app, and listen to your little heart's content if you missed anything. Last hour will be posted here shortly.
Show off.
Not ready just yet. But we'll also invite you to chime in on the Young Power Sports text line, 435-339-0321. A number of texts coming through. Last hour, we spent pretty much exclusively talking about Utah State's win over Air Force in the Mountain West Conference, latest standings and scores from the weekend. And so continue to get some reactions to that on the Full Court Press text line, 6543. Texting in and saying, so is New Mexico a real contender or is the jury still out?
No, the jury's not out. They're 9-1. Like, what else do you need to know? Like, I get it. They've not played a lot of the toughest teams on the road. Their conference strength of schedule so far has actually been the easiest, where all the tough teams they've played for the most part, they played Nevada at home, San Diego State at home, Boise State at home. UNLV on the road is probably their toughest game they've played. And depending on how you view road game, playing UNLV on the road versus playing someone like San Diego State at home. But, it's about to get a lot tougher for them down the stretch because all that's going to come back and bite them where they're going to have to play at Utah State. They have a stretch where they play at Boise State, at San Diego State in the space of a week, basically. So, yeah, there's some strength of schedule concerns, and that could end up making them slip. But, I trust them more than I trust about any other team in the Mountain West. And at this point, if you ask me to pick who's going to win it, to me, it's either Utah State or New Mexico. One of those two.
Yeah, so they are using the word pretender for New Mexico would be a big mistake. So they are absolutely a contender.
Yeah.
They still have a tough road ahead of them, but they're playing some very solid basketball.
Yeah, but even if they lose, they're no worse than any of the other San Diego State's Boise who've played some of those tougher games already and lost a bunch of them. If New Mexico ends up losing a bunch of those, what are they but the same as basically everybody else?
Yeah. 9315, thoughts on New Mexico not having any games for the USU game on Saturday? And then my thoughts are with Jason. Chaos reigns supreme. It's a lot more exciting.
Yeah.
But New Mexico, they had that exciting game at UNLV, but then they've got that midweek break. They've got their little bye in the middle of the week here, and their next game isn't until Saturday when they face the Aggies in the Spectrum at 7:30.
Yeah, we talked about how much that week-long break helped the Aggies. It'll help New Mexico, unless they're on the rust side of the rest versus rust conundrum. Pick whichever one you like. When it helped the Aggies, it was rest. If it hurts New Mexico, it'll end up being rust. Who knows? But I think it'll be a benefit for them. They played more games than the Aggies to this point, so clearly they'd been playing a lot of games in quick succession. So I imagine it'll help them a little bit and maybe help some of their role players, be able to help Donovan Dent and also help Donovan Dent, who might have a sore back at this point, considering how much he's carrying this team.
Yeah, their wins in conference play are by wider margins than what Utah State has done. And they've had a few close ones. Utah State has had a lot of close ones, but they're playing some very good basketball right now. 8968 texting in. Let's hope the Aggies are healthier against Las Vegas than they were last game.
Yeah, they will be.
I think they will be.
Carson's still going to be limited on that ankle because I know he was able to play the next game, but it can be a lingering thing. So he may be a little limited, but you're going to have Isaac Johnson and Isaac Davis available for that game. So even Carson at 80%, you won't be having him again playing a 12-minute stint where he's still got a bit of asthma that's keeping him from being able to play long stretches. And he was sick, so it's like, my goodness, the fact that he was still standing by the end might be amazing.
Yes. Then 5374. It's unfortunate how good our team looks this year and how lackluster our schedule now looks.
Yeah, that's the Yankees' strength of schedule keeps getting worse and worse despite their, getting some of these wins. St. Bonaventure's just tanking.
Yeah, they've lost. What, I tweeted this out earlier.
Yeah,
five of their last six, or
four
of their last five.
4 of their last 5 or 5 of their last 6 or something like that. Iowa is, they're not pulling a St. Bonaventure, but they're falling into the 60s in the net, so they're not going to be a quad 1 win, I don't think, at any point.
But I overlooked this team because they're having the opposite effect. North Texas has been rallying. They've won 5 in a row, and they're up now. That's a quad 1 win now for Utah State, beating North Texas because they're at 46 today in the net.
Yeah, so that one, we'll see if they manage to hang on to that. Hopefully, they're playing in the AAC, so they're not going to have the craziest strength of schedule. So maybe they can hang on to that. They're projected to win the rest of their games by KenPom. So, and probably only will lose 1 or 2 of them. So if they can stay at quad 1, if the Aggies can win at Boise and at
New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico's.
And if Nevada could get another win or 2 that pushed them back up into Q1 territory, they just fell out of that.
Yeah, they could maybe get up to, I guess that would be 6.
Yeah.
Because you have North Texas at St. Mary's, at San Diego State. I think if they can finish with 4 quad 1 wins, that would, as far as combining realistic with, as far as realistic number of wins they can get versus how many of these teams are likely to stay quad 1, I feel like that'd be kind of an ideal there. Ideally you'd end up with 6 or 7, but that's not going to happen for a number of reasons. 1, I don't think the Aggies are going to win all those games. 2, half of these teams aren't going to get up to quad 1 wins anymore.
Yeah.
Because they keep sucking.
A few years ago, it was the kiss of death. Every time Utah State would have a quad 1 game on the schedule, they'd beat them and knock them out of the quad 1 territory.
Yeah, it kept
they
happening.
Just kept missing having a signature win on the resume. But right now, they've already got 3 and likely could get several more.
And they need to make sure UNLV does better because, hey, if they have a tremendous end of the season, they could almost become a quad 1 loss, I guess, that road game. But hopefully they don't tank it into becoming a quad 3 loss. That would be embarrassing.
Yeah, you don't want that.
But I think they'd have to fall quite a ways for that to be a quad, because quad 3, on the road is isn't that in the 200s?
In the quad 3, yeah, you got to get to 240.
Yeah,
from 136 to 240.
Yeah, so they're not falling that far.
No. Nice win over the weekend for Utah State. They've moved up to 31 in the net rankings since we're talking about that. And it's not the highest that they've been. They got as high as 12.
Yeah, that's where they debuted at just about.
Early December. But a week ago, they were at 41. They've moved up 10 spots over the last week with 2 dominant wins over Nevada and Air Force, and still in the hunt for the top spot in the Mountain West Conference standings. 2 massive games this week, the revenge game against UNLV on Wednesday, and then a battle for the top position against New Mexico on Saturday. And hopefully we get full sellout crowds for those, because that home crowd can and will make a difference in 2 really important games in the Mountain West standings.
Yeah, it'll be 100% sold out against New Mexico. Probably against UNLV. It'll get 9,000 plus. I think the fact that it's a revenge game. And I think it's really nice that you got this game against UNLV, that's the opponent specifically. Because there are a lot of teams that could be overlooking and saying, we got this New Mexico game. That's the one that we got to be paying attention to. That's the big one. That's the one for, getting a commanding lead in, it's, as much of a commanding lead as you can have at the top of the standings. But you'd hold the tiebreaker for now. You hold home court, and you can get all caught up in that game. But you got to beat UNLV. But the fact that it's a revenge game, oh boy, these guys are... you saw how competitive they were against Nevada after getting healthy and having some steam to work off from that loss, and they put the fear of God in Nevada. And I think UNLV could face that same determination. Hopefully you'll see the same execution that you did against Nevada. But as long as they have that effort and they'll be able to maintain that focus against UNLV and then transfer it over to New Mexico, obviously, for that second home game.
435-339-0321. If you want to chime in on the Young Power Sports text line, looking at the standings in the Mountain West, it's still New Mexico on top at 9-1, Utah State at 8-1, Colorado State at 7-2, and San Diego State at 6-3, Boise State and UNLV at 5-4. So it's definitely on the outside looking in for Boise State and UNLV, but they can still be disruptors and cause havoc for the Mountain West standings, and so try to play themselves into a little, maybe more favorable position when it comes to the conference tournament in March. But Aggie's got to take care of business and to protect home court, and if they do that, they'll still be in a very good position.
Yeah, well, I think, basically UNLV and Boise State this year, I think are going to be a lot like what UNLV in New Mexico were last year. These are teams that are finishing toward the kind of bottom end of like the good teams, in air quotes, where it's like, these are the teams that you're really worried about, that if you're playing them on the road, it's a very good chance that you're going to lose that game. They may not be contenders just because they've had a few too many slip-ups, but they're definitely teams that you absolutely have to watch out for. Obviously, Utah State's already stumbled against UNLV. They've already shown that they can have that problem. They dang near got beat by Boise State at home. So, they obviously got to watch out for them when they go play the Broncos on the road. So, yeah, neither Boise or UNLV are really going to be contenders for the regular season title. But heck, with New Mexico last year, I mentioned them, not being a contender for the title, where they finished, fifth or something like that in the standings, fifth or sixth. They won the tournament, the Mountain West tournament. So Boise or UNLV could very easily end up winning the Mountain West tournament, getting themselves into the tournament that way. That's probably about the only way either of those two teams get in the tournament. Maybe even Colorado State, although the Rams are starting to play themselves into a more favorable position. Granted, they have one signature win in the Mountain West, and it's over Boise State at home. So we're going to have to put much more of a wait-and-see pin on Colorado State.
Yes.
Although we're running out of time to wait and see because they keep losing most of their marquee games, except for Boise State, which they almost blew anyway.
435-339-0321. Let's shift gears for just a moment and talk about the NBA. And as you heard at the top of the hour, Jimmy Butler just continues to be on the outs with Miami Heat. They are fining him so much money. Hundreds, and really it comes down to millions of dollars from games missed, and conduct detrimental to the team. This is his third time he's been suspended in January, and now he's just suspended indefinitely. The other times he was suspended, they had certain dates attached to it. But so it's probably pretty obvious that Miami will want to try to move him at the trade deadline, which begs to question who would take him. But it's a big salary, and that might be hard to swing. Other teams are kind of interested in making some deals to help their teams. And so there could be multiple teams involved to shake things up throughout the NBA. And as is no surprise, teams are looking at the Utah Jazz to try to peel off some of their assets. Yeah, well, and heck, the Jazz are sort of involved in maybe helping facilitate a Jimmy Butler trade. Heck, the Suns were trying to, get more first-round picks to spice up their offer for Jimmy Butler. At least potentially, or more accurately, it would help them facilitate maybe a multi-team deal where they could, you can't split the one first-round pick, but if you have 3 first-round picks, you can kind of split things up. That was more of the calculus of that deal that the Suns ended up, going for. But yeah, the biggest problem we have with the Jimmy Butler trade is that he is so tough to trade, and it's so tough for it to be worth it. Because in order to trade for Jimmy Butler and have it be worth it, you basically have to have a giant dead contract laying around.
like somebody who's making 35-ish million, 30 to 35 million, or like two players that are each making like 20 to 25 million, that you don't really care if you lose. But the problem is there's not a whole lot of players like that anymore. And a lot of them tend to be on bad teams because a lot of times they've kind of just been either they've just ended up on bad teams. Like, Bradley Beal was kind of wasting away on the Washington Wizards for a while. Zach LaVine is making a ton of money, but he's with the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls don't want to trade for Jimmy Butler. The Suns want to trade Bradley Beal for Jimmy Butler, but Beal has a no-trade clause. Whoever gave that to him was an idiot.
Yeah.
And he's steadfastly refusing to waive that. He has all the power in that scenario, and Phoenix is trying their darndest, like going up to him every practice, but like, poke. Are you annoyed yet? You want to trade you want to waive your no-trade clause?
Well, there's also growing discontent in that locker room with Yusuf Nurkic, though. And I don't know that his salary would not match.
It's not like,
but he would have a little bit more salary to him, where he basically came out and said, I haven't talked to my coach in weeks. And he's fallen out of rotation and he's not even playing anymore. He's not because he's injured. His coach doesn't like him and he doesn't like his coach. So there could be some other things at play. But the biggest thing with Utah Jazz is that apparently Anthony Davis is making overtures that he still wants to win now and needs a quality center to play alongside him because he doesn't want to play the center position.
Yeah, apparently playing center is the most degrading thing in Anthony Davis's mind. Like, to him, being a center, despite the fact that, like, if you list the top 10 players in NBA history, like half of them are centers. But, being a center is horrible. It's the worst fate you can ever suffer is playing center. Oh, the humanity. But yeah, and that his, I guess, demands that they make some win now moves have led to like reigniting of the Walker Kessler trade rumors. Although they kind of ran face first into the brick wall of, oh yeah, Danny Ainge still wants 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler. That hasn't changed since the last time these rumors flared up, and so the Lakers said, "Oh, Anthony Davis, you want us to trade for center? Let's go, talk to the Jazz, see if we want Walker Kessler." Oh, wait a minute. 2 first-round picks.
Yep.
Likely giving up one of their other valuable first-round picks and probably having to take the protections out of the 2027 first-round pick. And maybe even throwing in a guy like Dalton Knecht, who's been a pretty solid young rookie. The Jazz would probably maybe want him as well. That may lead to giving less draft compensation because you're giving up a young, draft prospect, and that could be worth a first-round pick, obviously. But yeah, it's the Lakers want Walker Kessler, but they're not willing to pay the price. The New York Knicks want Walker Kessler, but they're not. I don't even think they can pay the price because I don't think they have 2 first-round picks because of some of the trades that they've done to be a win-now team that would have been working out if Mitchell Robinson hadn't gotten injured. Of course, it's still working out fairly well for them because they're toward the top of the East, so they're doing all right.
They're doing okay.
But they can't make another, win-now move to get Kessler to try and replace a little bit of what they lost with Isaiah Hartenstein, who went on to, play for the Thunder right now. So, yeah, a lot of teams want Walker Kessler, and Danny Ainge is like, here's the price tag, hangs it on the shelf and says, come talk to me when you're willing to pay that price. And that's basically where we're at this point. I don't expect to see Walker Kessler traded. I know there's the whole thing about Kessler being out right now. The Lakers holding out some role players. Like, I've seen that song and dance before. Although now that I point out that that's a thing, he's probably going to get traded because
you've jinxed him now.
That's just how it works, I guess. But barring the supernatural gods of sarcasm and whatnot punishing me for my sins, I don't think Walker Kessler is going to get traded.
6391 on this topic. Pretty sure Dalton Knecht is older than Kessler or barely younger. Not quite worth it for me.
That's true. Like, Knecht is like 24 or 25. Like, he was like a fifth-year senior coming out of Tennessee, 4th or 5th-year senior. So, yeah, you'd have to get more than just Knecht. Ideally one of those later picks that are looking to be pretty valuable for similar reasons to the Phoenix Suns 2031 pick, projecting to be pretty darn valuable if you can get it unprotected.
Yeah, 435-339-0321. Would you be okay with Rui Hachimura and some other scrub and maybe some other deeper draft
I don't think they're giving up Rui Hachimura,
pick
though.
in exchange for Walker Kessler?
It's like going to be some veteran scrub and 2 first-round picks, or Dalton Connect, a second, maybe, in like another first-round pick. Like those are kind of your 2 options. And I don't like either of them because I still like Walker Kessler. But if you're not big on having centers that can rebound, block shots, and shoot 75% from the field, then I guess you can trade him for what could be a superstar down the line if you get lucky with the Lakers pick.
Yeah.
Which admittedly, like, I kind of sounded sarcastic when I said that, but that is actually kind of a tempting offer to get a pick of that potential caliber.
I mean, Walker's a great player. I mean, there aren't a lot of guys in the NBA that are doing what he's doing. He's a double-double machine. He blocks shots. He plays for 25 minutes a night. He's not a center that is only good for 10 to 15 minutes a night because he just runs out of gas. He's a guy that plays hard, knows how to run an efficient offense, very good rim runner, an offensive threat besides what he can do on defense. Doesn't have a lot of like go-to moves per se where you throw it to him and he goes to work and gets you a bucket, but he's a great lob threat and can do some things around the rim. So it would make sense to pair him with a significant star or two, and he would look awesome. But Utah, that's what they're hoping to start to do this next offseason. But you know what? If somebody wants to walk in here and pay me $2 million for my car that's several years old, like I love my car. It's a nice car. It's not super fancy or anything, but it gets me around. But if somebody wants to come in and way overpay for my car, I'll take it so I can go get another one. Not to say that there's a bunch of just Walker Kesslers walking around, but if they give you a position in the draft to go find somebody similar and you can develop him like you've developed Walker, okay, you take it.
Yeah, it's also keeping in mind that center, while an incredibly valuable position and you need guys that can do what Kessler does, it's also one of the least valuable positions because the league is dominated, outside of the guys that have Nikola Jokic, is dominated by teams that are led by a power forward, small forward, or shooting guard, essentially.
Right. Yep, 6'7" to 6'10". That's your sweet spot.
Yeah. So, unless you're Victor Wembanyama, in which case he can pull off.
Well, he's an alien.
Yeah. So, you have your weird exceptions like Jokic and Wembanyama, and you can maybe throw in Joel Embiid, but he's not made it past the second round of the playoffs, so I don't know if he counts. But, your teams that are led by superstar centers tend to flame out in the playoffs. Again, Jokic the exception. And mainly because he plays like a point guard, so and is uber efficient. Again, so it's Walker Kessler being an incredibly valuable piece to the team, and I am biased because I still do have a signed Walker Kessler jersey hanging in my living room, but if he's your second best player on the team and you're going to treat him like that franchise piece, you might struggle a bit unless he becomes a Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid, which he's probably not going to.
Right. He's not somebody that I don't think he's somebody that you make a max contract guy.
Yeah, because he's making a max contract. He's overpaid. Like Rudy Gobert, if you did the math on the analytics and if you tried really hard, you could kind of justify paying him the $40 million, but it didn't end up working because your first or second highest paid player is a rim protecting center. And championship teams just aren't built like that financially.
Right. So he's valuable. He's worth investing in, but don't get too caught up in overvaluing him and what he can do.
The problem is he's valuable when he's underpaid.
Yes.
Which is the thing I hate saying, but it's the dirty little secret of pro sports. Your best players tend to be underpaid when you're winning championships. And then you overpay them, or in reality, pay them what they're actually worth, market value. And then you stop winning championships for the most part. There are some exceptions to that world, but not too many.
Yeah, Walker currently earning just under $3 million this year. It goes to 4.8 next year, and then he's got is that a player option? Qualifying offer,
Qualifying offer is basically a team option.
In 26-27 to put him at $7 million.
Yeah, but he'll be eligible for an extension, and he'll get one either from the Jazz or from somebody else.
Yes.
Hoping it's the Jazz.
A couple more texts coming through. We'll get to those. We're a little overdue for a timeout, so we got to hit that first, and we'll answer your texts next here on the Full Court Press.
Now here's a concept. You earmark 1/3 of your profits to go back into the community, to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Anthony Wagoner, and I'd like to share with you what I know about Dex, the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Join us in creating the brightest image for tomorrow. Contact us at deximaging.com.
Love is in the air this Valentine's Day with a special evening waiting for you at the Riverwoods Conference Center. Morgan Nadald here, inviting you to a special Valentine's buffet with music by Wildflower the Band. Come enjoy a delicious selection of prime rib, blackened salmon, tempura shrimp, ribs, and much more. And is it even Valentine's without dessert? Enjoy an endless display of chocolate decadence, delicious cheesecakes, and chocolate-covered strawberries. Nothing says I love you like dinner, dessert, and dancing. Reserve your Valentine's Day today. Visit theriverwoods.com. That's theriverwoods.com.
Happy New Year! You survived the holidays. This is Jarek at Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Did you meet the family during the holidays? How was that? Is it time to go engagement ring shopping? Valentine's Day is coming, but why wait? Do it now. Bring her in and view our collection of over 3,000 rings. With many of them being our own custom designs, I know we will find the perfect one. At Jarek's Fine Jewelry, we make it special. So come make it Jarek.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special. Make it Jarek's.
Les Olson IT is your source for top quality technology. We carry the latest desktop and laptop PCs in stock, configured to your specific needs, and backed by our award-winning support team. And if your business demands high-performance hardware, we offer custom-built computers that can tackle any task. We also offer great computer accessories like monitors, keyboards, speakers, Fujitsu document scanners, and more. Get a quote today.
Les Olson IT.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Young Power Sports, they sponsor our text line, 435-339-0321, for those who want to chime in. 8968. I think I saw where St. Mary's is ranked higher than the Aggies. Not in the AP or coaches polls. They are higher in the net ranking.
Somebody had a mid-major top 25 and had St. Mary's ranked number 1 among all mid-majors, ahead of Memphis. I believe it was number 2. Utah State was 3. New Mexico 4. Which I've not followed St. Mary's a ton since the Aggies beat them. But I was a little skeptical. I know they are on a pretty big win streak, though.
Gonzaga is currently 16th in the net. St. Mary's is 23rd.
St. Mary's hasn't lost since they lost to Utah State.
Yes, it's very good. Of
course,
Memphis
they haven't played Gonzaga in that time, though, and St. Mary's actually has 4 straight quad 1 games coming up.
Memphis is 41st in the net.
Yeah.
For those keeping track. A couple other texts, 5773. Anthony Davis doesn't want to play center due to the physical nature of the position. I would gladly trade all the Laker scrubs for Kessler.
Can't have him, JD.
No. Jazz are going to give away Walker Kessler for just a bunch of scrubs. I get it.
You better be willing to give up those first-round picks.
Yeah, I get it. Trading away a veteran for future picks or future assets or young, promising prospects, but the Jazz aren't in the mode right now of trading away a very promising prospect.
Yeah, the
for
players,
a bunch of scrubs.
Like they're willing to trade a lot of their players away for a decent enough price. Like they're probably maybe holding out on Colin Sexton for their first round pick, and anybody who can muster up anything for John Collins, they'd probably be willing to trade as long as they don't get a ton of dead salary back and at least some kind of draft compensation. But the players they see as being long-term assets for this team, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, they all have one thing in common, and that is a inflated price. Like, is Walker Kessler worth 2 first-round picks? No, I'm going to be blunt. He's not. But that's what the cost is. Like, to the Jazz, that's what he's worth to them. So that's what you have to pay. Is Lauri Markkanen worth basically the Kevin Durant haul? No, Lauri Markkanen is not worth that. But that's what he's worth to the Jazz. So when people are all up in arms being like, why is Danny Ainge asking a high price for these? Like, because he wants them on his team. If you want to pry those players out of his heartless hands, you need to actually fill them with the miserly money you accuse him of hoarding.
Right. Yes. So we will continue to monitor that very closely. The NBA trade deadline is still a week and a half away.
I forget the exact date, but it is suddenly closer than I thought it was because somebody mentioned it was like a couple of weeks. And I was like, wait a minute, it still feels like it's 2 months away. But no, it's like February 13th.
February 6th.
6th. It's like a week earlier, isn't it?
February 6th.
Because it used to be in like the teens, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. But February 6th, 1 o'clock Mountain Time is the trade deadline in the NBA.
So yeah, we're looking at about a week and a half. At this point, I'm just rooting for Jimmy Butler to not have been traded by then, just because...
Then Miami gets stuck with him?
Well, just in chaos, you know. And I want to see Jimmy, you know, it'd be funny to see Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley going back and forth. Jimmy Butler thinking like, do I really want to burn like $20 million in salary just to make a point, which... I don't know. This is a guy who screamed at his teammates, y'all effing need me, and a bunch of other things. He might have said that when he walked out of practice, it was either today or yesterday, the thing that led to his indefinite suspension. Who knows? But hey, at least he didn't throw a bowl of soup at somebody, which, if you don't remember, has happened in the NBA during a practice.
A bowl of soup?
Or during some team meeting. I think it was a team meeting. But yeah, dude threw a bowl of soup like one of his assistant coaches. One of the funniest things is to be like, yeah, that's the thing that happened in the NBA. I think water bombs are funny. Talk about soup mortars.
Soup mortar. Yeah, so we're continuing to monitor just the trade rumors throughout the NBA as we are about almost about a week and a half away from the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And so Utah Jazz will continue to be a team mentioned as teams want Walker Kessler for good reason. He's not that expensive, at least is per his contract.
Yeah, salary matching is
and
the
he's
least.
young, but Jazz are more likely to be willing to divest John Collins, Colin Sexton, or Jordan Clarkson of varying values in return for those guys. But Utah's also, tweaking their lineup and rotations a little bit. So it'll be interesting to note how that plays out tonight when they play Milwaukee.
If it counts as tweaking your lineup when you're just throwing darts at a board with all the players' pictures on them and saying, you're out today and you're out today. I don't think that counts.
Let's see if this works at all.
I don't think Will Hardy is getting creative with his lineups because he wants to. It's because he basically, it's like those old prescription lists, but instead of killing somebody, it's like, these are the players you don't get today, Will Hardy. Thanks very much. And Will's like, all right, I don't have this guy, and this guy, so I got to play Drew Eubanks now.
Yes. But if a hefty price is presented, should the Jazz still entertain that, or is Walker Kessler untouchable, just like the Jazz went through with Lauri Markkanen this last summer?
Well, I don't know. It's hard because, obviously when Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert were traded, to me it felt right at the time because of the fact that it felt the Jazz kind of needed a reset. But now when you're looking at what would essentially be the same kind of return, I say same kind of, not the exact same return, but with Lauri Markkanen, I was like, should they really do it? Like, all those picks sound nice, but like, is, you'd just be trading away a great player so you can get someone who's maybe as good as him in return. When you're already trying to go after a superstar in the draft. I know you could say the same thing about Donovan Mitchell, but the Jazz just kind of needed a reset. Donovan Mitchell was pretty much already on his way out, didn't want to be in Utah anymore. You couldn't say the same thing about Lauri Markkanen. I don't know if you can say the same about Walker Kessler either. So even though it's that same kind of return, you could almost compare them, to some degree. Like, it's trading guys to get, more than they're worth back. And that in and of itself is a very attractive prospect. Like, I can't say that trading for, if they traded Lauri Markkanen to the Warriors, that getting some of their future first-round picks wasn't a highly, potentially highly lucrative prospect. And even if you get a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, who I'm kind of doubtful on, but like you can see some of his potential. And then like say you trade Walker Kessler to the Lakers, some of their future first round picks can be incredibly valuable. And I know it's like 5-6 years down the road, but like say you get to 2031 and you have the Suns and Lakers pick, and if they both end up in like the top 3, you'd be walking, down the draft, hallways like a king.
Oh, yeah.
We'd be just about worshiping Danny Ainge if he managed to pull that off. You could end up like the Boston Celtics, who've won a championship with like arguably their 2 best players, although I'd argue Drew Holiday's up there, are number 3 overall picks that they got from somebody else because they made a trade like 5 years before that to get those players. The Jazz could pull off a similar thing. But even then, it's like, it's still a bit of a risk. You still like these players long term, so I'm not as sold on that prospect just because you like these players long term. You like Lauri Markkanen and his ability to be a star, get back to all-star form when the Jazz stop tanking and sitting him for half the season. He can come back, be in a rhythm, be an all-star, and maybe be the kind of star mentor toward a young Cooper Flagg or an Ace Bailey or whoever I pray the Jazz get in the top 3 this year. That would be an incredible thing. And maybe he's like a 34, 35-year-old veteran on a Jazz team that's contending in the playoffs. Maybe not the star anymore, but like your old Manu Ginobili, playing a big role on a potential championship team. That's something he could be. So part of me really likes the idea of the Jazz making some of these trades. Part of me is just like, you have your assets. Let's just throw the young guys out there, see what you have. Let them, go through the process of, weeding out some of the ones who aren't going to make it. Hang on to the guys that you think are going to make it. Like they're hanging on to Walker Kessler. They're still kind of hanging on to Taylor Hendricks, seeing what he's got. Keontae George may be on the fringe at this point. Bryce Sensabaugh may be on the fringe. But we're going to find out with all these guys. So I feel like they have enough assets that they don't need to keep hemorrhaging good players just to get more assets. At some point, you've got to pivot and say, all right, here we are. We've got some of our young talent. Let's just start throwing them at the wall, see which ones can help us win eventually.
Right, because eventually that's what Houston did.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Detroit's trying to do.
Oklahoma City
did that, right. They played a lot of young guys, tried to figure out who they had, who could really cut it in the NBA, who couldn't. They were able to amass a lot of different picks, but eventually they're like, okay, we're going to stick with this group and develop them and let them grow together. And now we're starting to see the fruits of that. Utah, at some point, has to finally do that and say, okay, this is the group that we believe in that we can move forward with. I don't know that they really believe they've got that core group yet. I think they've got a few pieces, but they don't have a core group. That's why they're still losing games right now.
That core group involves their first-round pick this year and their first-round pick next year, at least in their ideal plans. One of those two will be part of a group that is contending for the playoffs 4 or 5 years down the line.
By the way, we were talking about Anthony Davis. How about this? 21 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks in the first quarter.
Goodness gracious.
At Charlotte. Guy's having himself a pretty hefty first quarter.
Is he outscoring and out-rebounding Charlotte?
It's bonkers.
By himself?
I got to take another timeout here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, Looking back at the weekend in the NFL, any reactions to what we saw in the AFC and NFC championship games? And how did our former Aggies do in those games? We'll talk about it next on the Full Court Press.
It's cold outside, but you can keep warm inside with a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace. Count on a furnace from York because it's backed by the strongest warranties available. It's just another way we install confidence. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer at 752-7272. Online at advancedheating-ac.com. York, install confidence.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Alpine Home Medical has been around for over 25 years. Can you believe that? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent. What keeps us coming to work every day? We're passionate about caring for you. From home and bathroom safety to transportation, mobility, recovery, oxygen, sleep, and more, come into any of our 10 locations today and let us take care of you.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Did you know Daryl's technicians are factory authorized and trained to do your warranty work? This is Jay with Daryl's. Our repairmen have access to the largest parts department in northern Utah. That means we often get repair done the first visit. Schedule your appliance repair today to lock in your no-risk service. If you want new instead, you can apply your trip charge to an appliance purchase. See store for details. Daryl's west on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
Over the past few years, strong and crazy weather patterns have battered various parts of the country. Northern Utah and southern Idaho are not immune from its share of wild weather. Be prepared for power outages with a Generac backup generator from Golden Spike Electric. They are your local source for Generac sales and service. Generac keeps you in control when bad weather strikes. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, and we had the conference championship games over the weekend in the NFL, and one was a snoozer, one was really exciting. I mean, they weren't. I mean, the Commanders and Eagles game had some things that were kind of fun about it. Saquon Barkley is just a beast, and the Commanders trying to stop the tush push.
Yeah,
that was entertaining. But 55-23 blowout by the Eagles.
Yeah, well, the Commanders, they were showing a lot of good things, but then they just turned the ball over. Couldn't. They fumbled it, 3-4 times?
Yeah.
Of course, didn't the Bills fumble it a bunch, but they, kept recovering all their fumbles. So, it's just the Commanders couldn't get out of their own way. And then they couldn't stop getting in the way illegally on the goal line.
It's so funny.
They had 3 or 4 offsides.
Those 4 warnings, and then the refs just hey guys, cut it out, or I'm just going to award a touchdown.
Yeah, they were warning. First, they were warning the one guy because he kept trying to do the jump over the line thing, and then they said you'll get a person, an unsportsmanlike conduct, which would have reset the chains, among other things, among moving the ball an inch more toward the goal.
So it's okay, then he nudges his teammate, okay, it's your turn. You do it instead.
And then the refs are literally, we're just going to give them a touchdown. At which point, I have never rooted for an offside more in my entire life than watching that moment being please, I want to see the refs just say they get a touchdown. Because that would have just been the most hilarious thing ever. I might have taken a screenshot of that on the broadcast of the box score. Eagles awarded a touchdown for a palpably unfair act.
Who scored the touchdown? Referee.
The referee literally scored a touchdown.
Who gets credit for that? Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I don't know how that goes down in the box score. It makes sense to when it was said out loud, it's something you've never thought of. Referees literally awarding a touchdown. You joke about that, but it's referees literally doing that, and it's once you realize that, if this kind of thing, like what would happen, like, it's like when you're playing Madden, you keep jumping offside just to annoy the person you're playing against. Like that kind of thing happens in real life, then it would make sense. Because I've often said with referees, like they need to be able to be God on the field. Like that's just what their powers need to be for them to effectively, referee the game. And that's just one of those things that at some point you got to kind of be able to just say, look, they get a touchdown because you're being an idiot. It's something that we will likely never see, but we came about as close as we've ever done seeing it live on TV.
I was actually, I've got a kid who's learning to drive, and so on Sundays we go for longer drives, and we were in the car when that was going on, and just could only imagine how it was playing out. So I had to go back and watch replays.
Yeah, well, just hearing those words out of the referee's mouth, you're just thinking, you're just kind of laughing to yourself. Washington can't stop jumping off sides. And the referee's like, we will award a touchdown. You're like, oh, snap. This ain't just funny. This is hilarious.
Yeah. What wasn't hilarious, maybe not to the same degree, was what happened in Kansas City. Like the Chiefs, they just continue to win, and they will continue to win close games. This has happened to them all year. The Buffalo Bills, they're trying to pull the upset. Look, they beat Kansas City earlier in the season. They know how to beat Kansas City, except in the postseason. And look, everybody's going on and on this the last 2 weeks about how the Chiefs get all these favorable things from the refs. That was a pretty cleanly called game. And look, if you're the Bills, you've got 3.5 minutes, 3 timeouts, plus the 2-minute warning, and all you need is at least a field goal to force overtime. That's on you.
Yeah. Well,
that is solely on you.
Well, the amount of times they went for 2 when they really shouldn't, and when the situation didn't call for it.
Yeah, they left points. They cost themselves points.
Yeah, so... And the Bills were also... That was about as bad as I've seen a team be in short yardage situations in a while. The amount of times they should have just been able to play power football, win the matchup of the guy in front of you, and just get a first down on 3rd and short, or in that one case, 4th and short. And they couldn't do it. And yeah, there were a couple of calls that people didn't like, but they were, 1, very close calls, 2, the interpretation of the rules, I don't know it that well anyway, or like it was just difficult. And the referees, being referees, will always be impact averse and not try and assume something they don't see in replay. It's what they're trained to do. I kind of wish they weren't. Wish they were given a little more freedom, because I feel like everyone who watched the replay was like, yeah, the guy got Josh Allen got a first down on that 4th and short, but you can't see it on video, so the referees aren't going to make that call.
Yep.
That's why the announcers always say in every single replay, they always say, is there enough evidence to overturn it? That's why they say that every single time, that exact play, because they have to have that evidence. They have to be able to justify it with the video, with like the screenshot or the quick video. But the one kind of point that I kind of wanted to make is that watching the dialogue around the Chiefs, I have a weird perspective on it, because, I'm fresh off of 20 years of rooting for the Patriots and then winning like 6 or 7 Super Bowls. And all this crap was said about the Patriots for 20 years.
Yes.
And it's the exact same script of hating on the team that's currently in the dynasty. And if we had social media, it probably would have been said about the Dallas Cowboys and about the 49ers and about the Steelers. Like, the Raiders still won't shut up about the Immaculate Reception, and all that stuff. And of course, they also won't shut up about the tuck rule, among other things, even though they have the holy roller, so they can quietly shut up about getting favorable calls. But it's the dialogue about dynasties. Heck, it's the stuff that was said about like the Golden State Warriors and the LA Lakers. Every time there's a dynasty, apparently they get all the calls. Like, I just have seen this in the last, I know it feels like it's been forever since the Patriots were good, but it wasn't that long ago that everyone just said, well, you can't touch Tom Brady, and he gets all the calls, and all the refs, they make the joke about the, new Patriots jerseys, and it's the referee. Like, it's the exact same script. I'm like, wow, this feels really familiar, only it's not directed to the Patriots. It's some other team. And it ends up showing me just how hollow all of that is, because I spent, most of my young adult life fighting back against it, either to friends or on, as social media was getting going. I was, battling against it on that and on message boards that I used to be pretty active on. And then now I get to this point where everyone's saying about the Chiefs, and I'm like, yeah, those are really hollow arguments. Once you realize that everyone just always says them about the team that's good.
Yeah.
They apparently get the referee calls, but they really don't. It's just you're paying attention to them more, and you notice the times they get the calls, and you forget the times that they don't. And because they're playing in all the marquee games that the millions of people are watching, everyone notices their lucky moments more. Like, there are people who still actually believe that Tom Brady was just lucky. And they're just idiots. And they're going to say the same thing about Patrick Mahomes, even though Patrick Mahomes at this point is getting to the point where he's getting to the same level as Tom Brady. Like, that's how darn good Patrick Mahomes is. But everyone's just going to say he's lucky, even though it's not a coincidence he wins all the close games, just like it wasn't a coincidence that Tom Brady won all those close games. It's because they're good.
Right. It's like you just can't fathom that your team could lose to these other guys. There has to be some other reason. And I get it. Like, you're so wrapped up in the fandom for your team. You're so excited for the season that they've had. And it just is inconceivable to you that somebody else could actually beat them. And so there must be some other motive, some other reason, and it has to be the referees. And it's when I was young and as a teenager, I was in that mode. But as I've gotten to be an adult and paid more close attention to these games, yes, refs are not perfect. They make mistakes that have consequences, but usually it's the better team wins for a variety of different reasons. And to just be blaming the refs and it's a conspiracy, just take a step back. Why would the NBA or the NFL, specifically here the NFL, why would the NFL want to gear or script it so that a small market team in Kansas City, Missouri, would be the team that's winning all of these games right now? Wouldn't they want a team in Los Angeles or New York?
It made more sense when it was the Patriots
or
doing
Philadelphia. It. I mean, yeah, Boston is a good sized market, but it's not the number one market.
Yeah,
it's so it just is silly. If you want to script. If it's all a script, then why do some of these teams win? Why did San Antonio win for all those years in the NBA?
Yeah, that made no sense.
A curmudgeon coach who's a jerk to the media that no one likes to talk to in a small market. Why would the San Antonio Spurs win if it was scripted?
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't make sense.
The thing I'll say, we got to get to a break, but the thing I'll say is whenever you hear somebody go on this whole thing where they explain this long tired of this is why this team has to make the championship. This is the storyline that the NFL 100% wants. And they're trying to make it seem like the NFL would only want this to happen. You can reverse engineer every single one of those for any team to make it. You could reverse engineer an entire playoff run and say this is why, this Cinderella. They say, oh, this year they wanted a Cinderella, but this year they wanted a powerhouse. Like I said, you can reverse engineer that all day to make a narrative that the NFL supposedly wants. But then you can construct it for the losers too, and it's just as valid. But that one didn't happen because guess what? These pro leagues can't rig their stuff even if they wanted to.
Right. All right, we do need to take a timeout. And when we come back, we weren't able to share Pick 6 on the air with you on Friday or Thursday, but we did it off air. And so we'll reveal those lines and how we did next here on the Full Court Press.
Cold weather is here. Let the gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah's fireplace category help you update your home with Napoleon's full line of gas or wood-burning products. Building a new home? Let the professionals at Advanced Fireplace and Stove design and install your fireplace. From traditional to modern, Napoleon has something for every design and every budget. Install a product that will allow your family to make memories for years to come. Stop by at their showroom or visit them at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Every question is a great question at Adams Wealth Advisors. Do we have enough money for retirement? Can we finally plan that trip? With the ups and downs of the economy, are our portfolios recession-proof?
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind, whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com or call 752-1702 to schedule a time with an advisor today.
From the land you love to the jobs you do.
This time of year, the farms, ranches, and fields might be quiet, but if you make your living off the land, the real work is just getting started. Now is the perfect time to prepare for the busy spring ahead. Cash Equipment can service or repair almost any tractor, make, or model. Don't wait until the fields are calling. Beat the spring rush. Visit Cash Equipment in Hyde Park and online at cashequipment.com.
Cash Equipment's here to see you through.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Last couple of minutes here with you, and we're looking at Pick 6, something we do, trying to predict what will happen over the weekend. I have 3 lines. Jason has 3, and then we pick a tiebreaker. And we had to do this off air. So, Jason, what were our lines and how did we do?
I'm going to be honest, we didn't do very well. So starting with New Mexico, favored by 4.5 against UNLV. Who did you take to cover? You took New Mexico. I took UNLV. The Rebels lost, but they did cover that spread, at least that I said. I don't know what the actual spread was. I made that one up. UNLV lost only by 2, so I get that one. Next, I had combined yards for Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. I set the line at 510.5. We both took the under, but they hit the over with a combined 564 pass and rush yards. So we both missed that one. Utah State's rebounding margin against Air Force, over-under, plus 6.5. You took the under, I took the over. The Aggies got out-rebounded 31-29, so you get that one. So we're tied 1-1. And then we had another Josh Allen-related one. You just had his own pass and rush yards. Over-under 270.5. You took the over. I took the under. He had 276.
Ooh, close.
So just narrowly sneaking into the over. So you're up 2-1. Next, we had Sam Merrill. His points in both of the games against Philadelphia and Houston. You set the line at 20.5. He scored 12. He had a game with 9 points and a game with 3 points. I took the under. He took the over. So we're tied at 2. And then going to unrivaled 3-on-3. Had to search hard for this one.
Yes.
Missed by 3.5 over the Phantom. We both took the Mist. Well, the Mist lost to the Phantom, which since we both had the same one, that didn't matter what the result of that one was anyway. But now it goes to the tiebreaker.
Uh-oh.
Another NFL-related one. Total points on NFL Championship weekend between the two games. I set the line at 96.5. You took the under. I took the over.
Oh, gosh, the Eagles.
That one alone almost covered it pretty well. 139 total points between the two games, both fairly high scoring. I think both hit the over. Like both those games, the over-under on total points was in the mid-40s, which is how I got to 96.5 because I just kind of combined those two. And they both hit the over pretty hard.
Yes, they did. It was a close one.
It was. We both got 2 right, and then I got the tiebreaker. So not the greatest week, but I come out on top for a second straight week.
There you go. Very nice. Well, look, it's going to be an interesting week for Utah State men's basketball. A lot to continue to digest and get into and preview. We've got the revenge game on Wednesday and then the battle for number 1 on Saturday. And then looking at, we want to look at what is the road to the Mountain West Conference Championship game look like in the conference tournament? And who do you even just get to the tournament itself? But what does the road look like to get there? How many home games, how many away games do each of the top 6 teams have? And then who has a tougher road there? I mean, when you look at who they have to play and where they have to play. So we'll look at that and see if we can figure out how things might continue to shake up or stay status quo throughout the Mountain West Conference. Also, over on one of our sister stations, 104.5 The Ranch, they're going to be carrying the Ridgeline girls basketball game, taking on Grantsville tonight. Emily Skinner named as a McDonald's All-American. So stay tuned for that and listen to that broadcast.
The home for Skyview Sports. Sports Talk Radio, KLGN Logan, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The